So, how was your Sabbath? Good? We thank God for that. Pastor John Lomacang has responded to those that criticized him for some political statements he made in his recent sermon, Make Adventism Great Again. What did Pastor John Lomacang say? We are going to listen to that pretty soon. But before we get to that, if you are new here, you are welcome to the channel. You are welcome to Bro Lawrence channel. Here on this channel, we share and comment on events that are taking place in the church and outside of the church. So feel free to subscribe to this channel for latest updates. So with that being said, let's get right into the video and listen to Pastor John Lomacang's response to his critics. So let's get into it right now.
Want to share a few things, and I'll be able to do it from here. Mike, if you're not able to get that to run? Okay, not a problem. I'll be able to share from here. Just want to make a few statements here. A couple of weeks ago, I did a sermon called Make Adventism Great Again. And because the acronym was MAGA, it infuriated many individuals. Unfortunately, we're living in a day and age where you've got to shut up and stay in your closet. Well, that's not actually who I am. But the purpose of the message was not to litigate anything having to do with whatever agenda America wants to take. That's their prerogative and that's their right. And people vote, and individuals have the right to vote for whomever they please. That's not what the purpose of my sermon was at all. The purpose of the sermon was to remind us as a people that while the world is moving in one direction, the people of God should be moving in another direction. And there are always those who are standing ready to accuse our church. Let me make no mistake about it. I not only work along with 3ABN, but I'm an ordained pastor of the worldwide Seventh-day Adventist Church. My allegiance is to God first, His Word, and I am strongly allegiant to our church leadership. So I'm aware that magazine articles, YouTube talking heads, negative biased articles, and there are always dissenting voices looking for some reason to attack the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Why would that be a surprise to us when the Bible says the dragon is angry, he went to make war with the remnant of her seed that keep the commandments of God? That's us. Now, we're not exclusive, but we have a responsibility. God has not called us to exclusivity to say that we have salvation in our pocket. The Lord has us in His pocket. We don't own truth. Truth owns us. And so God has given us a responsibility as a people to make the trumpet clear, to make the message clear, to call out that which will hinder the progress of His work with clarity. This has been the continuation of the people of God in every age. And in the end, this is no time to close our windows, shut our doors, and go off into abject silence. God does not need a silent majority or silent minority. So what I wanted to do today was to show a video. Elder Wilson had a video that, for whatever reason, technical difficulties. But Elder Wilson, and by the way, when I made that statement a few weeks ago, I had already done my homework. Now, I've been maligned in an article. I don't even want to give legitimacy to the magazine. I wouldn't even mention it, or to the person that did the article. But I reached out to our church leaders, conference presidents, the World Church, to make sure that what I said was in harmony with what the church stands for. And at every level, they said yes. They said they read the article that was put out to try to make me look like my light is going out. But my light is not going out. It's going to continue to shine till Jesus comes. So the light is going out. This pastor is trying to find reasons to say the Sunday law is coming. Well, brethren, if you think that there is no Sunday law in your future, then you are living under a rock. And so you got to read these articles, and I love the way a good friend of ours said it. Sometimes you have to resist your right to get angry. Don't get angry. Do God's will. Let the Lord deal with all of those things. So this statement that I'm going to be making today is not from a place of anger or hostility or disenchantment, but from the reiteration of the fact that our church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, has a world mission. And that world mission is bigger than America through the auspices of ADRA. Now, I was going to allow you, but I'll just go ahead and quote some of what Elder Wilson said. And this is verbatim. He says, speaking on the issue of ADRA, and by the way, you can go to the ADRA website, adra.org, and you can see the video there and the full article. There is a 90-day freeze on this USAID block because many of the churches that have been falsely maligned are in dialogue with the U.S. government to clear their name. So there's a 90-day freeze on this block to prevent USAID. The Adventist Church, through ADRA since the 1980s, have helped societies and churches and people of all different classes throughout the world. And I like the way that Elder Wilson said it. He says, I'm quoting now, "We are asking for your continued partnership and generosity to help ADRA overcome this funding gap. Without the faithful support of our church members and donors, ADRA's ability to serve will be significantly hindered. The needs of the vulnerable and displaced populations have never been more urgent." But then now he goes, and there are news outlets, whatever channel you watch, I don't really care about that, they do what I call the bucket scoop, and they make a statement and include everybody in it without any individual investigation. And what you've seen on the media, if you've seen the Adventist Church mentioned as a non-governmental organization, an NGO, we are an NGO. ADRA is an NGO, not us as a church, but ADRA is an NGO, meaning their work is far larger than the agenda of America. They help all over the world where there are floods and disasters and difficulty. They feed, they give clothing, but they have been called, this is where I had to reach out to my church leaders. The Seventh-day Adventist Church has been called incredibly politically partisan, meaning the church, Adventist Church, is standing only in one political party. Now you know that's not true, because as in our own denomination, in our own congregation, people are on both sides of the aisle. That's your right as a citizen. But then we've been called radical leftists, anti-American, the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So I reached out to my church leaders at the top. I spoke to a conference president. I spoke to those at the general conference. And they said these accusations, and let me read the statement from Elder Wilson. "Some have suggested that ADRA has engaged," this is a quote, "some have suggested that ADRA has engaged in illegal activities, but this is completely incorrect. ADRA operates with the highest ethical and legal standards in harmony with our faith. We are committed to serving all people with compassion and dignity, regardless of their legal status." What does he mean? So people take that and say, oh, therefore you're helping the illegals. That's how they do that. When a person is hungry, when a person goes to a hospital, do you say, are you legal or illegal? Matthew 25, and this is what Elder Wilson talks about, Matthew 25, verse 35. Jesus calls us to be compassionate towards strangers. And then he says, ADRA's mission is to show the love of Christ by providing life-saving aid and in compliance with the laws, and in partnership with local communities. Together we can continue to restore dignity and provide hope to those who need it most. And that's how he concluded. So when you go to the ADRA website, or you just put in Ted Wilson ADRA, you'll find the video in its entirety. So brethren, we are not called to be politically partisan or leftist or radical left or anti-American. That's not the church that I pastor for. That's not the call upon our lives as leaders. So when I heard that, and a few weeks ago, I included that in my almost already completed sermon, Make Adventism Great Again. So we've got to make sure that whatever you read, and this is something that does not happen, people that write articles that malign most of our leaders do not reach out to those leaders and ask any questions. So there are many articles, there are many Adventist publications now that have taken on, quote-unquote Adventist publications that have taken on a National Enquirer mindset. And their leaders and their supporters are eating garbage that does not support the stand of our church. So when you read these articles, you know that me, as a pastor, is not anti-American. I do not stand against the teachings of our church. And we are here to help the suffering of everyone, regardless of where they're from. But in no means and by no means will we ever do anything out of harmony and in violation of the laws of our country. When we are accused of that, I thank the Lord that our lawyers at the General Conference and in our churches are taking their stand in dialogue with the United States government to clear our name as a church. But let me finish by saying this. Don't always think it's going to be that way. So we have to know that God is, in the end result, the arbiter and the one whose last decision will determine the stand of his church. Be humble about it. Don't get upset about it. But watch out where you're getting your information from. And don't take everything you read on the internet as law. Go to the sources. That's what I try to do. Every now and then, humanity will overtake me, and sometimes I can make a slip-up. But in that event, I'll correct it. But on this issue, I am not making a statement that is not in support of our church. Just want you to bring you up to date. All right? We have a president, we have an administration that operates at the highest Christian standards. ADRA and the Seventh-day Adventist Church takes that as a high prize, and we do not do anything that will cause our U.S. government to look at us as radically left, politically partisan, and anti-American. Just information for you. Happy Sabbath.
So friends, Pastor John Lomacang just cleared the air. But friends, it took about 11 minutes for Pastor John Lomacang to clear the air, to explain what he meant in the sermon that he preached recently. In that 11 minutes, friends, he did not address the concerns of many SDAs about ADRA receiving greater portion of its revenue from the federal government. He did not address that. I think 2 days or 3 days ago, I made a video about how much ADRA received from the U.S. government in 2023. The amount was over 62 million US dollars. That constituted about 64% of ADRA's total revenue for 2023. So that means that the US government has been the greater source of finance for ADRA. And that is what many SDAs don't really understand. Why the churches' organizations receive funds from the government, from the federal government. But that was not addressed. And also, we are yet to know whether ADRA supported people from other countries to cross to the U.S. We don't know the truth. ADRA is saying that what we have been hearing in the news about their activities are all false. We are yet to know the truth about it. I don't know whether Dodge or the U.S. government is going to bring out how the NGOs, the various NGOs, have been spending the monies given to them. I don't know whether the U.S. government is going to bring these details out. But we will still know in the future whether ADRA supported undocumented immigrants or not. But until then, I think we should leave that side and make sure we find the truth. Friends, Let me know your thoughts in the comment concerning the response of Pastor John Lomacang. This is all that I had to share with you today. I want to also assure you that there are some videos that are coming, friends, because a lot of things actually happened today in some places, in some churches that you need to know. So we will keep you updated, friends. Thanks for watching. See you next time. God bless.